Hey guys, so here's this video breaking down this little effect that I made a while back that I said I would post a hip file and a breakdown for. Anyway, it's pretty simple if you know a decent amount of Houdini. Basically, it's this effect that I created here using Houdini and Redshift and Fluids. Um, and I first saw something kind of like this a little while ago, and thought it was a really complex effect with rigid bodies and Voronoi and all this stuff. And then I realized that I could probably do something uh, similar really simply just using flip fluid and just a range of viscosity. So basically, the hip file that I have posted in the comments is just a simple setup with this torus here. And all that's happening is the torus is going through this chain, pipe in your own geometry here, obviously. And then there's this attribute from map node where you should stick in the texture for that geometry. And then, so over on this side here, it's basically creating a VDB for polygons, scattering some points in there, and then doing a Voronoi fracture, just a regular old Voronoi fracture. Then on this scatter node, I took the group inside that the Voronoi fracture creates. If you throw that a delete, you can see exactly that the inside is literally just those inside faces. Nice, there we go. So there's those inside faces. So then what I did is I scattered points on there and I set the viscosity super low on those parts and then set the viscosity super high after doing the flip source to create the flip fluid properties. And then just did an attribute transfer here, which you can't really see what that's doing, but if you go down to this visualize node here, you can see it's basically, these are the non-viscous parts where it's sliced by the Voronoi fracture. And then the red parts are where it's super, super viscous, almost to the point where it's basically a rigid type thing. Like the viscosity is set super high up here. You can set it even higher if you want, or lower, depending on your taste. And you can tweak this stuff a lot in here to get sort of different results with the amount that it's blended. So if you are familiar with the attribute transfer node, which you should be, there's the blend width and then the distance threshold. And you can up the blend width and it will sort of like fade out more. There's more of like a blur here. And you can kind of keep going with that and maybe get like a different effect. The other thing that you could try that I want to try at some point is actually using an attribute from map to drive this. So if you get textures from like polygon.com or something where you get like a roughness texture, it would be fun to have maybe the super rough parts be the viscous parts and have the non-rough parts be the solid parts or something like that. I don't know. Just an idea that I sort of had. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of potential there with that. Now, the other thing is that if you go into the meshing itself here, you'll see it brings this stuff in. I did some stuff with fitting the viscosity and stuff after it's been simmed to between 0 and 1, so I can use it to drive some shader stuff nicely. And then those viscosity attributes are being transferred through here, and you still have the viscosity attributes on the smooth here. It's VCD and V reflection, which I created for the shader. You can kind of look at that and see more about that. And then down here, there's this pair material, which is what the shader is called, just because that was the first fruit that I broke up. But if you see, you go in here, it pulls the CD from the color from the CD attribute on those points that transfer onto the mesh. And then there's some cool stuff that happens with VCD and VREF to make it so that basically when the viscosity, you can see like when it hits the viscosity, the viscous parts are kind of shinier and more subsurfacey, which just kind of gives it a nice kind of contrast from the thick parts, and like definitely adds a lot to the render. So this is set up to work with Redshift, but if you don't have Redshift or you want to use Octane or Arnold or Mantra or whatever, um, you can just take those attributes and drive similar properties with those. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Enjoy.